You know, Blizzard, listen. When I said delay Dragonflight please, I was talking about the expansion. I wasn't talking about the pre-patch of Dragonflight. However, this is what we have in store for us, because the pre-patch of Dragonflight is getting split in two. It is getting brutally cleaved in half, entrails all over the floor, blood spattering everywhere, because Blizzard has decided to delay by 3 weeks quite a few components of the pre-patch. So the initially data mined and initially leaked release of the pre-patch on October the 25th is still there. However, a few of the features will be pushed all the way up to November the 15th. Remember, the expansion is November the 28th, so we're talking about a 2 weeks long pre-patch event. This would make it, by the way, a record. Congratulations, pre-patch of Dragonflight, you are the best of the worst, because this would make it the shortest pre-patch that we have ever had so far. Now, enough with the blaming, let's talk about what gets split. What comes in a week? What comes in the next reset of the game? So first of all, the heads-up display and user interface changes are coming in next week. So the UI changes, the options, several changes, improvements, quality of life additions. You have plenty more things that you can test now in-game. The base UI for Blizzard is now more similar to a customizable add-on, so it's much better for you. Also, talking about add-ons, this is a very good change, because now we are likely going to skip entirely that annoying part of the Release 1 expansion where you have plenty of add-ons broken, not working, glitchy, and giving a bunch of errors, because the new UI is coming basically a month before the expansion is even out, and there's going to be plenty of time to fix these add-ons before the expansion actually releases, so that once we get to play in Dragonflight, we won't really have to deal with all of those add-ons issues, so it's pretty good of an addition. What is also coming, of course, is perhaps what you might spend most of your time before the actual pre-patch comes in November the 15th, which is the addition of the Dragonflight talent system. The biggest of the revamps, if you had to take stock of everything that's changing in Dragonflight, it will be a head-to-head between professions and talents, but I think because of how important they are, talents are winning, so that's what you get to try out and test out in the pre-patch of Dragonflight. So that would be also quite interesting and also quite supportive, because we get to have way more players now complain about the shit state of certain specs and classes. So perhaps maybe Blizzard will be more convinced on giving more rounds of tuning to certain specs now that the talent systems will be available to everyone and not just the players in the beta. Then what's coming next week is what actually is my underdog for Dragonflight. It's something I feel will be very, very good overall, which is the rated solo shuffle. What was initially implemented as a PvP brawl, so a standalone mini game without too many things attached, is getting promoted. Is now getting a power-up in Dragonflight, because it will be elevated at the same quality of rated arenas and rated battlegrounds. So think about all of the things those two game modes can get. Vicious saddles, vicious mounts, you have conquest points, you have Great Vault loot, you have access to achievements, you have access to mounts and titles. All of those things will also be available in the solo shuffle. So that is quite important. It's quite massive, honestly. It will make you, for example, be able to start getting progress towards the Great Vault just by doing solo shuffle, rather than doing traditional arenas and rated battlegrounds. That's why I said I think it's my dark horse for Dragonflight. There is a vast, large part of the player base which is not getting into PvP because it is too exclusionary. PvP, it requires you to have a partner, to have people friends. So not really something the average WoW player has, which makes them shy away from PvP, in particular arena. Meanwhile, now we have rated solo shuffle. Now you don't have to have any of that. Now you can have access to rating, you can have access to Great Vault rewards, you can have access to conquest without actually having an organized group. An organized large group like rated battlegrounds, or an organized small group like arenas. Now you can do it all solo in rated solo shuffle. So I think it's going to draw a lot of players back into for the first time PvP. That's why I think it's quite good. It's good for them because they will get to experience a new type of game mode, and it's also good for you, PvP players, because you will get to farm noobs jumping into solo shuffle for the first time, not having any clue of what to do. So it's a win-win situation, really. Lastly, as for what's coming this week, in just 7 days, is something that might help all of the undecided, still thinking about what to play, what race, class, spec to play. We have a change. With the pre-patch, Rogue, Priest and Mage are going universal. Now every single race in the game, including allied races, oh well, I guess except Evokers, can play Rogue, can play Priest and can play Mage regardless of the race. So they are playable by everyone. I find it hilarious. We just talked about rated solo shuffle becoming a thing in Dragonflight, and then Blizzard makes RMP playable on all races of all factions. Maybe you could have went for a few different classes, you know, maybe take Warlock instead of Mage, maybe take Warrior instead of Rogue. Now, besides this, however, this is all that comes in a week. Now, what is coming in a month, all the way delayed back to November the 15th? Well, the big ticket of the pre-patch, the big thing coming in the pre-patch was the snippet we took from Dragonflight, which was the Evoker and the starting zone of Evoker, the Forbidden Reach. That was supposed to come as well for the pre-patch and is now instead getting delayed by 3 more weeks. In case you're confused, that's just like the Demon Hunter starting zone. You start as an Evoker at level 58 and you get to stroll around, tinker around the starting zone, the Forbidden Reach, for about a couple of levels. That's why there is a starting zone for Evoker right there, which is now becoming available in a full month from now. There are, however, 2 more things, that's 2 more things coming in a 3-week delay. One is, of course, the event itself, what we mentioned being very far behind development, being very buggy, mobs being unstable and not working properly. The event itself wasn't even shown properly, the loot from the vendor wasn't even there, it was just data mined but not present, so plenty of problems. So now at the very least, I guess Blizzard can have more time to fix this event before it goes live. Still, it will just only last for 2 weeks now, which is very short, but as long as it's for some quick loot to give your alt level in Dragonflight, it won't be too big of a deal. The other thing, however, coming in a 3-week delay on November the 15th is something that not many players have cared for. I guess that's why it went under the radar, because it has to do with lore. We all know how players feel in WoW about lore. They just keep skipping quest text without knowing what's happening. For them, they might as well be committing genocide. Who cares, as long as you get rep at the end of it, or maybe AP, maybe some essence, some anima. As long as it's good loot, I'm fine with it. Talking about lore, I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but the TLDR is that Alexstrasza comes back to the Dragon Isles, a disc of Norgannon is missing. She points out that perhaps Tyr, one of the old Titan Watchers, has hidden one in Uldaman, so why don't you, my little simps, go back in Uldaman to see what's up. That's what's coming in a month. Uldaman, the legacy of Tyr, is what is going to be available. Essentially, the Uldaman dungeon slightly revamped to add a part of the story of Dragonflight into it. Of course, I'm sure this is going to be a total plot twist for the player base. They definitely won't expect the Dragonflight to regain their powers by the end of Dragonflight. That would be a massive surprise, I'm sure. Totally not predictable, but this little bit is what is coming before Dragonflight. Now, these have been the 2 splits. What is coming in 7 days, what is coming in 30 days, delayed by 3 weeks. At the end of this, I wanted to point out a couple tinier additions which have went under the radar again, but I think they're quite interesting. One is Resurrection Sickness. Resurrection Sickness currently is the last resort you use, generally speaking, if you die in a place you can't reach, or if you're getting ganked while you have War Mode on and you just say, put me out of this misery, I'm gonna take the rest sickness and get me out of here. That's usually the 2 reasons why you would take the Spirit Healer rest. So the change is that now the 10-minute debuff of the rest sickness is going to be a 1-minute debuff only. So what is the trade-off for this? The trade-off is that previously the rest sickness was giving you a 25% durability loss, while this new one on a 1-minute debuff is a 50% durability loss. So the TLDR is that you can save 9 minutes of your time if you have to use the Spirit Healer at the cost of 200 to 300 gold. Basically, that is the trade-off with this change. There is also the other one, which was a much bigger change because it's going to impact way more people. It's going to be about mob tagging. If now you get sniped if now you're about to reach the named mini-boss, the named elite you have to defeat for a quest, for a world quest, and someone from the opposite faction snatches it from you, and you have to just sit there depressed, waiting for it to respawn, that is now gone. Now the players will be able to share mob tags. You can now share it with the Alliance if you're Horde, and with the Horde if you are Alliance. The caveat is, of course, you must not have War mode active. That would be quite awkward. Yeah, let me put on War mode, I want to fight the Alliance. Except now, we're just taking down this elite, you know? Let's just wait for later. And that would make it kind of embarrassing, really. So it's fine. It's only gonna work if you have War mode disabled. Those are the other two tiny changes which I think are going to turn out to be quite handy in Dragonflight. So with these last two things done with, these were all of the major changes coming next week and a month from now with the two parts of the pre-patch. There are a few more things I will likely compile in a different video about all of the changes to your UI, the new edit mode, and even the new options. So we are going to reserve these to a new video because now it's already getting long enough for today. So these were the changes made to the release schedule of the pre-patch, getting split into two. As I said, I would have been way happier if what we would have gotten was an expansion delay rather than a pre-patch delay. But I guess there is still hope. I'm still hoping. I'm still full of hopium when it comes to getting the expansion delayed, and we will see if it comes through in the end. Now, for today, this was all. Thanks, of course, as usual, to all of my Patreon supporters. You are a big contributor and supporter of what allows me to continue to produce content for WoW. To all of you and to everyone else who enjoys the content. Also, if you want to support in other ways which don't include spending money, it's understandable, I am just as greedy. You can like and comment down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Those are always going to be free without really costing too much effort. Lastly, for more support, general social interactions, simping, parasocial behaviors, you can follow me on Twitter, and you can also support me by subscribing on Patreon, which will also give you access to my Discord server if you ever want to pop by, ask some questions, you know, give some feedback about previous content, about future content. I'm usually always available there as well. Now, with this out of the way, we can leave each other. Thank you guys again for watching. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, you know, it's almost November. I have a wool heavy sweater on, and I'm sweating. Like my arms are getting sweaty. It's almost November. Jesus.